Okaeri! Welcome back to my channel, Made Between the Pages. My name is Taylor, and today we're going to be doing my first ever book haul. Now, I'm sure you've noticed we're in a different position than my usual videos. For my haul, I have to have the books next to me, and how I usually film is standing, and it just was not going to work. Especially because almost all of these books, pretty much all of these books, are adult fantasy. So they're big and they're heavy. But I mean, no one's surprised. I have 8 books here from the last couple months of my book buying. Now granted, these are only the ones that are in Japan, or that I had shipped to Japan. A lot of the books that I bought, a lot of the special editions, were only available for US shipping, so I sent a lot of those to my American house. For example, I bought the 10th anniversary special edition of The Wave Kings by Brandon Sanderson, but the shipping to send it to me here was not really worth it, so I decided to go for the cheaper shipping to send it to my American house. Now, my initial logic for being okay with sending a lot of my special editions and nice books to my American house was that I travel home at least once, maybe twice a year. And so I thought, I can just grab a couple that I would like to display on my shelf and bring them back in my suitcase. However, with Miss Rona throwing a wrench in everyone's plans, I have not been back across the pond since I've made a lot of these purchases. So when I do go back to America, I plan to have a very large haul for you guys, but for now, I'm just gonna go through the books that I had sent to myself here. The first one is Kingdom of Liars by Nick Martell. I actually have on footage me opening this book. I think it's in one of my previous vlogs. I'll put a card up here. I bought this book based off of some recommendations from other booktubers that I seem to have similar tastes to, and they really enjoyed it, so I went ahead and got it. Typically, I don't buy books unless I've already read them and I like them because of, the time that it takes to ship them to myself here. But this cover was so beautiful that I just decided I needed to have it for myself. So I went ahead and broke my own rule and bought it before I read it. It was also blurbed by Brandon Sanderson, so that certainly didn't hurt, but I don't know too much about this book. I know it's a high, epic fantasy, and the main character is considered a traitor because his dad seems to have killed the previous king, I think. So he's kind of shunned from society, and then, I'm not really sure where our story goes from there, but I also do know that the cost for magic in this world is really high. I believe that if you're going to use magic, it erases your memories, or you have to pay with a memory. And I mentioned in my Jade City review as well that I love books with a high cost magic system, so I'm really, really intrigued to see how this goes. The next book is The Rage of Dragons. I'm sure you've seen me mention this on my channel. I read this maybe 2 months ago, and I read it via audio from my library, but as soon as I got 20% in, I purchased it. I knew I was gonna need to have this. And it's just gorgeous. I have this thing where I'm terrified that the hardbacks are gonna go out of print before I can get them. I don't mind paperbacks, but when I'm in love with a hardback, especially this one, I wanted to make sure that I got my hands on it, because the paperback doesn't have these ivory ends, it has brown ends, and I just don't like that aesthetic as much. I know that that's completely arbitrary, but I am just really anal about my collection. I love having books that I find beautiful. So if you prefer paperbacks, totally fine. But if I love a hardback, I tend to click purchase pretty quickly because I'm terrified that it's gonna go out of print and I'm not gonna be able to get my hands on it later. So as soon as I got 20% in, I knew I had to own this. So I purchased it. I haven't read it physically yet, again, so I haven't tabbed it, but best believe there will be tabs all through this when I go through a reread. If you don't know, The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter is an African-based high military fantasy. The world that this is set in has a very strict caste system, and it takes place in a society that is perpetually at war. So their entire society is built around going to war. Thus, the fact that it's a very military-based fantasy. You spend a lot of page time in battles. Our main character, Tao, is one of the lower castes when we're first introduced to him. And through some circumstances, he ends up becoming bent on revenge on the people that are in a higher caste than he is. So this book is about many things, but at its core, it's about Tao and his journey to revenge and what it does to him in the process. Also, in this world, 1 in 1,000 women can call down dragons, and 1 in, I think it's 100 men can transform into like these gigantic fighting machines. And not an actual machine, but a gigantic fighting being. And that magic system is really, really intriguing, and how they get that power, again, has a high cost, which I love. I need to dedicate some time in the future to like just a reread month, because I really want to go back into this and read it physically, truly. This next book is one of my only non-adult fantasies in this haul, and that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. If you've been around my channel, you've heard me mention this. This book means so much to me. It touched my soul. Again, I read it via Audible from my library for the first time, and I just knew I had to experience it again physically, so I bought it. Again, no tabs because I haven't gotten to it physically yet, but best believe when I dedicate time to rereads, this will be on that list. This book is a historical fiction about a starlet named Evelyn Hugo and her 7 husbands that she's had throughout her life. Evelyn Hugo is notoriously private and has never talked to anyone about her life. But one day, a reporter who's kind of a nobody gets a call saying Evelyn Hugo specifically requested her to come and do an exclusive interview about her life. And we start the story there. This story made me laugh, it made me cry, I was bawling, I was a mess. And I just can't wait to feel those feelings again. This next book is the only YA fantasy in this haul, and that is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. This absolutely beautiful book was gifted to me by Tammy over on Tammy Tries to Read. Thank you so much. I'm so lucky to have you as a friend. She sent it to me as a birthday present in the hopes that I could read it with her and a couple of their friends for their Chaos Rising book club. Your girl did not get to it that month. I truly, truly wanted to, but you guys know how it goes. I just kind of ran out of time. Some of the YA I've read recently has not been hitting as well for me, but I did hear from a lot of people who read adult fantasy that this is one of the best YA fantasies they've read in a long time, so I am really excited to pick this up. I know next to nothing about this. I know that one of the main characters' sibling gets kind of taken by a spirit, I think, and then the spirit makes a request of that character, and I think it's to assassinate someone, and then the person that character is supposed to assassinate is also doing some shit. I hope they're doing something at least. And the two of their paths cross and things don't exactly go according to plan for either of them. So that sounds like a really interesting story for me, especially set in a world with like magic, otherworldly magic, so I'm definitely down. These next 2 books need no introduction if you've been around my channel for any period of time, but I got Jade City and Jade War by Fondely. First off, I got the exact same, like, series of the hardbacks. Why is this one shiny and this one matte? I don't necessarily have a preference for the shiny cover or the matte cover. They're both fine, but I don't want one of each. Come on, Book Depository. Like, we've already established that I'm really superficial when it comes to how my books look, and this on my shelf is gonna drive me crazy. Am I the only one that this would bother? Because it's bothering me. I picked up Jade City because pretty much everyone that I respect on BookTube that has the same taste as me was like raving about how good this was, and I was like, oh, now I gotta pick it up. And now I'm part of that club. I am obsessed with the Greenbone saga. The first book is Jade City, the second book is Jade War, but I'm gonna put Jade War down now because I don't need to be holding both. I just did an entire full review for Jade City on my channel. I'll be sure to link the card up above. Please go check it out. So I won't go into too much detail here, but Jade City is a mixture of kind of urban fantasy, high fantasy, sci-fi, kind of all mixed into one. It's a very unique story. And it's set in an Asian-inspired, sprawling metropolis. In this city called Janloon, the power resides in these groups called clans, who are essentially gangs. And our main characters are part of one of the gangs in this city. Part of what gives these clans power is Jade. When you wear Jade, it gives you a multitude of powers. It enhances your senses, it gives you super speed, super strength, you name it, it gives it to you. So it's a very hot commodity. However, only certain people who have specific training and come from a specific bloodline can use Jade without heavy consequences. Again, high consequences for magic. Are we surprised at this point? When we enter this story, the tensions between the two main clans, the No Peak clan and the Mountain, are rising, and we kind of jump in the middle of that conflict. If you haven't read this book, please, 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 please do it. I'm begging you. I'm only like 50 pages into Jade War, but I know that once I finish like a bunch of other books that I'm halfway through, I'm gonna blow through this, and I just cannot wait. These next two books were gifted to me by Rebecca over on Rebecca Reads. I'll be sure to link her down below. She was absolutely wonderful and sent these over to me, even though like my wish list was giving her a hard time. She was so sweet and persevered to make sure that I got these books. Both of these books are sci-fi, and I've been wanting to read more sci-fi on my channel. But since I'm new to the genre, I just kind of picked books where the premise or the way that it was sold to me sounded good, and I'm hoping to just dive in and see what I think. The first one is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This book was put on my radar from Katie over from Brightness Katie Reads. She loves this book, and she describes it as a feel-good space opera that basically reestablishes your faith in humanity, and I think after the year we've all had, myself included, I could really use that kind of read. So I really can't wait to get into this. And I mean, look at that cover. Like I said, I don't mind paperbacks, and this is an example of a gorgeous one. Yes. The second book that I got from Rebecca is Children of Time. This book has intrigued me for almost over a year now. I think it was Emily over on Emily Fox. Is that the name of her channel? You guys know her, whatever her channel name is. Books with Emily Fox. I think that's it. Yeah. She talked about this book and how much she loved it. And all I know about it is that it is a sci-fi where I think humans return back to Earth after having been gone for a long time. And when they come back, there are giant, sentient spiders waiting for them. And I hate spiders, so I don't know why I want to read this book, but apparently I want to read about things that scare me. So I don't know, I've been intrigued by it. I've been wanting to pick it up for a really long time, and now I have it physically. Again, that cover, it wraps around. This is another example of just a gorgeous paperback. So I am really excited to get into this. I don't know when I'm gonna get around to it. I hope to by the end of the year. Maybe like November, December timeframe. That concludes my very first haul on my channel. You can look forward to more of these on my channel in the future. I do like book shopping a lot, but as you can see, I'm pretty strict with what I actually buy and what I want to display on my shelf. So these will probably pop up every couple months, but once, travel opens up and I'm able to go back to America, definitely look out for an insane amount of books in one haul. If there's a book that I haven't read yet in this haul that you really think I should pick up right away, leave a comment down below, tell me why, and maybe you can convince me. But for now, I'm gonna head out. じゃあね!